Sobat milenial dan Gen Z, di balik sebuah peristiwa, isu maupun fenomena selalu ada sosok manusia yang menginspirasi. Dan di program Real Talk with Uni Lubis ini, kita akan ketemu dan mendapatkan inspirasi dari narasumber-narasumber yang luar biasa. Kali ini edisi spesial, saya ada di Dili, ibu kota Timor Leste. Ini adalah pantai Kampung Alor di tengah kota. Dan saya akan mewawancarai pemimpin Timor Leste. Dan untuk tahu apa pengalamannya memimpin salah satu negeri termuda di dunia. Siapa dia? Ikuti saya untuk mengetahui bahwa pengalaman adalah guru yang terbaik. Presiden Ramos-Horta, thank you for hosting us for very delicious lunch in your beautiful, and I think it's a lot of bamboo and greenery. This is like how you design your
like a kampung.
Like kampung.
Yeah.
How long?
Yeah, no, I developed the concept myself, so it's completely my work. The design of what I wanted, and a lot of recycled material.
Ah, okay.
I use, like you can see, bamboo. Yeah.
This is like in kampung, like in desa, with all of these plants.
And a lot of the things I have either the antique, antique pieces. And I collected from different places. Someone gave me, someone died. Family gave me things of a friend who died. I found some things thrown away in the street somewhere.
Barang bekas, in Indonesia barang bekas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what about all these pictures? This is President Kennedy, right? Kennedy, so many Kennedy.
All the pictures you see, almost 100% are Kennedys.
Yeah, why?
I'm a fan of the Kennedys. I know many of the Kennedys. 3 Kennedys visit me in Timor over the years. One even worked with me for 3 months as an intern. The youngest Kennedy in politics, Joe Kennedy.
Joe Kennedy,
yes. Grandson of Robert Kennedy.
The Attorney General, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm very good friends with the daughter of here, on this side. Look here, on this side. And the daughter who gave me.
Yeah, and then Che Guevara.
That's Che Guevara. I put
the idol of young generation.
I put Che Guevara there only because it's connected with also United States. And not because I'm a fan of Che Guevara.
Okay.
And I'm not a fan of the Cuban Revolution.
Okay.
I respect because their choice.
Okay.
But, not only because he's a nice poster.
So about Indonesia,
because you see, I had Che Guevara, but also Marilyn Monroe. Between Che Guevara and Marilyn Monroe, I actually more a fan of Marilyn Monroe than Che Guevara.
Understandable. So about Indonesia and Timor Leste, because both countries become the opponent for like 24 years before the independence, right?
Yes.
And then until now, after Timor Leste become the sovereign country, the relationship is become better and better, even become a good friend, very good friend. And probably for the younger generation, how the hatred that been there for so long, then kind of like fade away, and now probably we can say that Indonesia is the country that very supportive to Timor Leste, and Timor Leste also kind of like see Indonesia as a good friend. How that happened?
Yeah. Well, first, even during the struggle for independence, when many Timorese were killed, were suffering, our leadership, myself included, Mr. Shanan and others, we never consider Indonesian people as enemies.
Okay.
It was not the Indonesian people who were here fighting, it was the military.
Yeah.
And the military, many misbehave also in Indonesia, not only here in Timor.
Yeah.
Misbehave in Aceh, misbehave in Java, everywhere. Like, unfortunately, many military. And even though we were predominantly Catholic, Indonesia predominantly Muslim, we never played a religious card. Like, demonizing Indonesian as Muslim, or demonizing Indonesians as people. Never. And during the struggle, our people, the fighters, never killed an Indonesian civilian. Never kidnapped. Many Timorese civilians, innocent, were killed. That could have caused easy retaliation. Kidnapping school teachers and the civilians, women, children, as a form of retaliation. We never did. Not a single Indonesian civilian was ever touched by our fighters or our political activists. So it means, and at the same time, many Timorese, they were studying in Indonesia. They got to know the Indonesian people. They didn't know only the army, they know the Indonesian people. But even with the Indonesian military, many people were good. They didn't like the war. Many, they saved Timorese. Some Indonesian military doctors, they helped people. So anyway, and then Shanano, he was 8 years in Sipinang. And he said himself, many years ago, he said, it was in Sipinang that I learned more about Indonesia, that I learned more to respect Indonesia. So Shanana, with his charisma, his moral, political authority, he called on the people. Not only to reconcile with Indonesia as a country, but also reconcile with many Timorese who supported integration in Indonesia. And we all supported that. I supported that actively.
So that's why, because there is nothing hate between people to people in two countries actually.
So that's why we have very good relationship. But also because Indonesian political elite, Indonesian military, intellectual elite, Indonesia as a society, are very special, very unique people. In the sense, not revengeful. Like, for instance, I give an example. When the French left Algeria for almost 40 years after Algeria's independence, only after 40 years, then a French president visited Algeria. South Korea and Japan, China and Japan, 70 years after the war, still ongoing resentment. And in some ways, those countries that were forced to leave, they would exercise a reprisal, like United States against Vietnam soon after the war. Very antagonistic. Well, Indonesian people, Indonesian leaders, no such. Even though Indonesia, very proud people, very proud country, the military very proud. When they had to leave, they left honorably. And when we extend a hand of friendship, they accepted the hand of friendship.
So,
So no, and Indonesia from day one, not only now, 20 years ago, was already supporting us.
yeah. So, leading to that, my question is, when was the first time you met with President Habibie after Timor Leste independence, and how was the meeting?
I met President Habibie. No, excuse me. I never met President Habibie. Shanana met President Habibie.
Pas Sanana,
yeah.
okay. So the first Presiden Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono?
No, I met
Ibu Mega.
I met Abdul Rahman
Abdul
Wahid,
Wahid, okay.
Gus Dur. I met him way before independence of Timor Leste.
Yeah.
I met in Paris during cultural, social, economic event hosted by a French organization. They invited Gus Dur,
Okay.
and he was the speaker. I was not speaker in the, but there was a Timor Leste stand
Yeah.
during the event. And the Gus Dur, when he spoke, long before the referendum, Suharto was still entrenched, before the financial crisis in 97, he mentioned about Timor Leste and he called for a referendum.
Yeah. We remember that.
Already, he said like this, very simple, I remember every word. He said, in regard to East Timor, some people want independence, others want to stay with Indonesia. The best is let's have a referendum, ask the people.
To decide
That was absolutely
their
the right.
future.
So after his speech, I went and greet him. So this was probably 92, 90, 89, I don't remember. And then in January 2000, soon after the referendum,
Yeah.
the wounds were still very live. He came to Timor in January 2000 with two aircraft cargo planes bringing humanitarian aid. And
So since the beginning, a lot of Indonesian figure actually supporting Timor people. Yeah.
Gus Dur, Habibie,
Ibu Megawati
Ibu
was
Mega, I
there
met with
also?
Ibu Mega, very good relationship with her, and great woman, great lady. I'm a big fan of Bun Karno.
Oh, okay.
As a child, as a teenager, I read about Sukarno. I seen so many videos about Sukarno from that era. He was an incredible speaker.
Yeah. Orator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magnetic.
Yeah. Charismatic too.
Super charismatic.
Like you.
Yeah.
And Pak Sanana.
Bun Karno was really magnetic.
Yeah.
And very few people liked him in the world.
Yeah.
And in difficult times for Indonesia, after World War II, after the war with the Dutch, then came the Cold War, and the whole communism threat was very much in around Asia, Southeast Asia, and it was a time of anti-colonial fever. The Americans at the time, Europeans had zero influence at the time here in Asia. The US was far less enlightened in those days, except for the Kennedys.
There is always exception. Okay, so Pak SBY, do you meet probably more than one time, right?
Oh, many times.
Many times.
Good man. He's like a Javanese aristocrat.
Yeah.
Very calm, very serene, very elegant. He's multi-talent. He's a musician, poet,
Painter?
And the
No?
painter. I
Okay.
have 2 paintings of him in my palace,
Okay.
in the main room.
Okay. What about Jokowi then?
I'm very impressed with President Widodo. He's amazing, though. He was a furniture businessman. Some people say so far the best president of Indonesia.
Do you think so?
I don't know that because, different presidents, different times.
Different time, yeah.
When SBI came into office, he still had the Aceh problem,
Yeah.
then the tsunami.
Yeah.
And he came took over from Ibu Mega,
Yeah.
from Gus Dur, and a very difficult transition by Indonesia still.
Yeah.
He served 2 terms. He did help stabilize Indonesia, consolidate, and
Political stability.
and start working on the economic front. He brought a lot of prestige for Indonesia. So when then you have President Widodo, he inherited a situation that much easier.
Yeah.
So with possibility to do more, and democracy was already consolidated in Indonesia. The military out of the picture, no longer a threat. Aceh resolved, and so the president have less distraction,
Yeah.
and he can focus on economics.
Yeah.
So President Widodo has done a very good job from our observation from the past. Indonesia now is a member of G20,
Yeah.
together with G7 people, and powerful voice.
Was the chair last year, and this year is chair of ASEAN, right?
Yes, yes.
Then I'm asking you about, from opponent to become a very good friend, included the current situation where it's really obvious that Indonesia government very supportive on Timor Leste become the member of ASEAN. Why it's really important for Timor Leste to become member of ASEAN?
Well, it is regional integration. Every country belongs to some regional organization. There is no country in the world except Israel that is almost like a strange body in Middle East. So it's doesn't belong to the League of Arab States, for instance. And so it has a special relationships with different countries, like with the European Union, because they are the Americans, US as their patrons, and but other than that, every country is part of a sub-regional and regional organization. So logic for us, being in Southeast Asia, to join the ASEAN.
Yeah.
ASEAN is very important, very prestigious. The only regional organization whereby when it holds summit, the so-called dialogue partners come at the level of head of states. So you have the United States,
Japan,
China, Japan, South Korea, Canada, Australia.
ASEAN Plus, right?
Yeah,
Next
ASEAN,
September.
Yeah, the ASEAN Plus.
Yeah.
And that shows the importance of ASEAN.
Yeah. So ASEAN also, what is the main difficulties for Timor Leste to fulfill the requirement to become full member of ASEAN?
Human resources, our inability to expeditiously ratify treaties, and upon ratification to adapt our laws to the treaties, to be consistent with the treaties. Economic weakness, we have to invest more in creating the basis of a strong economy, so infrastructure, electricity, digitalization, accelerate education, but quality education, not just numbers. So,
and for that, you need more foreign investment, right?
Yes.
And from which country, basically, you expect more?
Well, we need, it doesn't matter where. It could be Indonesia, it could be China, it could be South Korea, or United States.
I read your statement on media about how you want really to have investment from China. Why?
So, no, so many countries, Indonesia also, Australia, they all have a strong relationship with China. There are billions of Chinese dollar investment in Indonesia, in Australia.
Yeah.
But every time we talk about China, we as a small country, people are wondering, wow, this is going to be Chinese influence. Well, China has trillions of dollars in the US economy. Isn't China dominating the US? And of course, that's silly. You know? The US is far too strong. But Australia also has a strong Chinese presence.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
To have a strong relationship with the United States, as well as have a strong relationship with China.
So between US-China geopolitical rivalry, like Indonesia is positioning ourselves neutral, non-aligned. What about Timor Leste?
Well, the non-aligned concept is a silly one. It's completely out of fashion.
Okay.
It was created following the Bandung Conference, 50s, 60s, in the time of the Cold War, and to support independence struggles. All the colonies became independent. Cold War no longer exists. Even China modified its communism. Well, who knows what is the Chinese communism is all about. And so non-aligned movement lost already its, in French you say, raison d'être, right to exist.
Yeah.
The reason to
Reason, alasan.
the rationale for it. And because there are other non-aligned movement countries mechanisms like G77. G77 is non-aligned countries.
Yeah.
Or countries that are qualified non-aligned. And it's silly because within the so-called non-aligned movement at the time, there are so many countries, pro-Soviet Union, the Marxist regimes in Africa, Latin America, and then there are many who are pro-United States, many in Africa. In the past, Congo, Zaire, Congo, Kinshasa, you have Kenya and so many others that pro-Europe, pro-France, like Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, you know. So, non-aligned movement, very aligned. Some aligned with the United States, or close to the United States, some close to China. So the whole non-aligned movement concept is, in French, you would say démodé, out of fashion.
Okay, you are not offended Indonesia, right? Because we always say it ourselves, our foreign policy affair is non-aligned, neutral, bebas, active, free and active, that kind of thing.
No, because the concept of non-aligned, strictly speaking, is you don't get aligned either with the United States bloc or with the Soviet bloc.
Okay. Oh, okay.
The Soviet bloc finished.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think so.
if you still say you're non-aligned, non-aligned in relation to what? To whom? Because the non-aligned movement was created at the height of the Cold War.
Yeah, I think so.
But even then, during the Cold War time, many of them were non-aligned. They were always with the United States, Europe, others always with the Soviet Union.
Okay.
And look, Cuba. Can anyone say that Cuba is non-aligned? No, Cuba was 100% aligned with Soviet Union. And can anyone say that Vietnam was non-aligned? No, was 100% aligned with the Soviet Union. Because the Russians, Soviets were supporting Vietnam against the war of aggression
Yeah.
launched by. So, makes sense only as a political forum for the anti-colonial struggle for independence.
Yeah. Okay, now for the nurturing the future generation of leader for Timor Leste, I thank you so much. I got invitation from you to attend the inauguration for Prime Minister Sanana. There is a question, of course. Why Sanana? Why Pak Ramos-Horta? And for how long both of you will be in power for the next 10 years, 15 years? And yeah, that's a question. So how you prepare?
Ivo, Biden,
Yeah,
President
udah
Biden
tua.
is the president of the most powerful country in the world,
Okay.
with his finger on the nuclear button. Shannon and I, no fingers on anything. And with a small country.
It's not that I asked it not
No.
because
No,
you
I
you
know.
are very full respected, but of course you have to prepare, right?
No. So first, let me say that, and second, it is silly the conversation about new generation. Well, preparing the new generation. Yeah, we've been preparing since 2002 already. If you look at many that was sworn in the other day, well, only one from the 75 generation, that's Shanana himself. Everyone else, the 40-something members of government, they're all new generation. So, and this is
I saw the from 46 a lot of younger, yeah.
And no one there was our generation. 75. No one that was sworn in.
Yeah.
In the parliament is the same. Not
yeah.
one person from 75 generation.
Yeah.
All of these people, majority, they started in parliament already in 2002. Some they started, then they finished, they lost the election. Some in previous government. The government that just left, 100%
Yeah.
new generation.
Yeah.
So
they are actually the next after Pak Ramos, Pak Tawar Matanruak, Pak Sanana generation, right?
And all of these people who are in government now and in parliament, they are new generation already. So it's not like by 2027, when we finish this mandate, we pass a law like this is now transferred to the new generation.
Okay.
Well, with the new generation of what? 2010, 2015 people? No. Normal, all these years they've been around. But in a democracy, I cannot hand over to...
Of course, what people vote, right?
Yeah. If I were Kim Jong-un, North Korea is a much simpler model. Not so complicated like Indonesia's model or Timor Leste model. In Indonesia, in Timor Leste, you have to have elections, totally unpredictable. Every 8 years, or sometimes even 5 years, you have to leave. So no continuity sometimes. And North Korea, I think, is much better model because the president is always elected by 100%. And
It's like monarchy, right?
So not exactly 100%. He's elected usually by 97% in the first round. Then they double check. They found out it is 100% because he ordered the 3% who didn't vote executed.
Okay.
So he round up.
This is true or joke because you are very famous for the jokes bapak-bapak.
I'm joking. So,
Jadi teman-teman, Pak Ramos-Horta itu joke-nya banyak banget. So many jokes bapak-bapak.
So Kim Jong-un made things very easy. He round up the figure. Why 97%? Why not? It's easier, simpler, 100%. So those who are the 3% who abstained, didn't vote, he sent them to labor camps and or just shot them. And then he resolved the arithmetic issue.
So before my last two serious question, because you already start to make a joke about this, please tell us the joke about the Nobel Prize.
Yeah. In '96, Suharto was very angry with me.
Yeah.
And very angry with the Nobel Committee. Because in reality, the award, the Nobel Peace Prize, was awarded to Suharto.
Harto. And then they make a mistake.
The short name is Harto. So Suharto was very angry because he said this in the palace in Istana Merdeka. He called the Nobel Committee people stupid people, cannot even spell his name right. So instead of spelling his name Pak Harto, they spell Pak Horta. So
kebalikan guys.
so Harto said, and this Horta,
Yeah.
very dishonest. He knew it was a spelling mistake, but he rushed to Oslo to get the award.
You need to write all of your joke and then publish it. It's gonna be viral. Okay, back to young population. You know, Timor has a young population with increasing aspiration for education and employment opportunities. How is the government addressing the youth needs and fostering their participation in the country's development?
Yeah. Again, the issue of youth participation in the country development is like a jargon, a romantic jargon developed by some Western think tanks or NGOs, because young people, the youth, they're supposed to be studying. And when you are studying, you're not really participating right now in the country development. Yeah, because they are not. They are studying. Studying many different fields and hoping that when they graduate from quality institutions, quality universities, then they begin to contribute to the development of the country. So, first responsibility of leaders in Timor Leste is like everywhere else, create conditions for the youth to be able to study. First locally, but then we set up an international fund called Human Capital Development. $30 million a year. We send more than 100 to study in 4 different universities in Thailand, more than 100 Philippines, many hundreds in Indonesia. Some went on their own privately, but the government selected key universities in Indonesia and sent them to that. More than 200 in Australia, Portugal, so all under our government scholarship. So that they go to the best universities in the world to prepare for the future. But sometimes, often we do this. It's a great idea, great concept. But when these young people come, the government have no plans to
absorb
collocate them in. They are needed. They are needed. That's why we send them abroad. They are needed because we talk all the time. We have problems of human resources. Well, if we have problems with human resources, whose fault? Our fault.
Yeah.
Or you forgot already, you send hundreds of people to study abroad. Or you're telling me no human resources. No, there are. But either they are not being used or they go.
Even though you have 48 ministries, they cannot, should be absorbed.
And then those who are in the ministries right now, I don't know whether they have they were among those who went to study. I don't think so. Because this is politics. People sometimes without any study, but because they're very important in the campaign of the party.
The contribution, right?
Yeah, that's for campaigning.
Yeah.
So it means when they campaign for a party, maybe because they believe in the leader like Sanaa, that they're looking for a job, an easy job.
Yeah.
Much more difficult to be entrepreneur.
Like the West Wing thing, yeah, concept, yeah. It's like the whole thousand of people join the new government that elected, that kind of thing, yeah. Okay, so the last question. You mentioned that you've been travel to 135 countries in the world.
Yeah. Over the course since 75,
Yeah.
since 73, 75, yeah.
Yeah. So tell our audience, which is millennial and Gen Z Indonesia, what is the most or the best lessons from your experience traveling around the world?
Well, I could write a novel about it. My experience, perception of encountering great people, nations, from so many different experiences. Some tragedies and they survived, some lost their lives, some great leaders, some very bad leaders. I witnessed all of that, some tragic mistakes by countries, by superpowers. And when people seem to lose hope, faith in humanity, there are often great lessons of humanity that show up and make you believe again in the possibility, in the goodness of the human being, the potential goodness of the human being. God, but when I see so much human tragedy, one picture yesterday, I was deleting so many pictures I had, and I ran to one. I saved it. One, a Syrian girl, age 3, a photographer was aiming the camera at her with a telephoto. She thought it was a gun, and she raised her hand.
Oh my goodness! So it's like trauma, yeah.
Yeah, she raised her hand because she thought it was a gun. The camera person was going to shoot her. She didn't think it was a camera.
Yeah. Because we're
Wow.
tele.
What a savage humanity that create. How leaders who fail to resolve problems with intelligence, with heart, with humanity, create wars and damage innocent children like that. Bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, goosebump. Thank you so much again, Pak Presiden, not only for your time, your insightful conversation, but also paling penting makanan yang enak dan rumah yang sangat menarik. Ini kita di rumah pribadinya Presiden Jose Ramos-Horta di Dili, teman-teman. Mudah-mudahan if there is a youth from Indonesia that would sometime wants to see how humble the residents of President of Timor Leste, maybe they can visit you, right?
Yes. Always welcome anyone from Indonesia. Great people, great nation, very good people, very fun people. Indonesians, very resilient. Indonesian people, you survive so many tragedies, man-made tragedies, natural. Krakatau,
ya dulu sekali, long time ago, tsunami.
Tsunami in 2004.
2004 December 26.
Then the crisis after the fall of Suharto, violence in Ambon, Kalimantan, and then rebuild to be
hopefully Timor Leste
country.
also. So we both hopefully can be built to become two great countries.
Well, Indonesia is already a great country. And in a very short period of time, 20 years of transition to democracy, is very respected in the world because of the success of democracy, of economics.
And Islam. The Islam, the most popular.
Credit goes to Muhammadiyah and Nahdlatul Ulama. These two organizations, they are the people, the leaders who keep Indonesia an example to the world.
Yeah.
I already nominated Muhammadiyah and another two ulama 3 times. First, to the Nobel Committee for Nobel Peace Prize. I nominated for the Hufat Wanyi, the UNESCO Peace Prize, and for the Zayed Human Fraternity Award that was created by Emirates together with His Holiness the Pope and the Grand Imam of Cairo. I was on the jury of this last one. So I nominated Muhammadiyah, Nadatul Ulama, for 3 big awards. It hasn't happened yet, and that's not wrong.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Okay.
Because if anyone deserves the Nobel Peace Prize in the world today, and should have it, should be Nadatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah.
Thank you so much Pak Presiden. Terima kasih waktunya.
Ibu,
Please
terima
keep
kasih.
healthy
Sama-sama.
because the people of Timor Leste still need you.
Thank you.
Timor Leste dan Indonesia menjadi negara yang sangat bersahabat sesudah merdeka 21 tahun. Dan padahal menjalani masa lalu yang sangat kelam. Dan Presiden Jose Ramos-Horta menganggap bahwa Indonesia adalah sahabatnya. Dia betah kalau ke Indonesia. Uni Lubis dan kamera person Alia melaporkan dari Dili, Timor Leste.